Emergency meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for Wednesday, June 18th, 2014. I'm going to move with a motion to dispense of the opening pledge of allegiance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call. Everybody's yes? Okay, I'm going to move that we appoint as fiscal officer pro tem Lisa Campbell.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Mr. Giavasis
Yes.
That was my job.
and Mr.
Sorry.
Lino.
Now I'm not going to get paid.
That's how we delegate and bring it.
I was trying to get this latest little hint down there.
Yeah, I was so worried about getting the vote.
First item under new business is a state of emergency flooding declaration that we have before us within our meeting packets. I know, Ms. Campbell, you've worked to get this drafted, run it past Eric Williams, our law director, but as well have consulted with our county sheriff, Mr. George Meyer, and I believe there's an additional comment that we want to touch upon as it relates to this emergency declaration.
Yes, the,
Before we do that, we should probably move and second it.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion.
yes, the one item that was recommended was having one point person to contact for the media, for residents, to stay on point and then disseminate the information cohesively to the rest of our team, which makes sense, so that Mr. Arsino's not taking calls, Mr. Schallenberger, also Mr. Falk was out today, so it's one cohesive message, intake of the phone calls, keeping up the spreadsheets is a very good point.
Okay. As far as I think recommendation for appointing that single individual should maintain or reside with our administrator. Is there any additional input from fellow trustees, department heads on that?
Well, I think that's a fine place to centrally locate it to her, and then she can get it to us as needed.
Okay. As far as I'll move, or then no further discussion on the motion for the emergency declaration. Roll call.
Oh, Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Giavasis,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
The record also reflect Sheriff and George Meyer and Captain George were also present.
Correct. I'd like just for the record to reflect too, should media request it, a very big thank you on the continued hard work and efforts by our first responders, both out the sheriff's office, as well as the fire department, as well as the road department. It's tireless and it's thankless at this point, given the amount of duress and stress a number of our residents, so forth, are under, given what restrictions we have, and we just need to keep reminding residents as we come across address and pictures to send them in so we can help justify any type of support up through the EMA or a higher level.
Yes, and we did create business cards that has the EMA's email, so that when our people are out in the field, when they receive those questions or they're visiting those homes, they can simply just hand one out. So those residents don't have to just, write it down or stress it as it is. It's easy just to hand out a card. I've distributed them to you also, board, as you get phone calls, emails, are out and about. So I think this will come into use for our residents.
Sheriff, do you have anything you need to add just for the sake of the record?
No, just that I know you're going to be repositioning some of your equipment overnight for concerns of flooding. We will make sure that our road patrol folks are aware of that. So if you have anything that's sitting out, we'll keep extra patrols on that. Not that we anticipate any problems, but just to give you a bit of a comfort level on that. And then if anything would come up, through the next 24-hour period, I know you're gonna designate someone to be your public information officer to just keep us included in the loop so that we can assist in any way we can.
Thank you.
I'm hoping to get that equipment inside Station 4, old Station 4, if we can get it in there and just fill it.
How does the flooding holding up at the old Station 4? Because I know the elevation of that is low.
We haven't had a problem there of anything yet. I know
We've had
the creek around Alpine Park is flowing at full tilt across the eastern area, so.
In fact, they backfilled along the edge of the road with stone because of,
Are you gonna try to put this inside, or?
However, we're,
Because I won't be able to get into my garages, as you, Scott, you and we seen the other night, we couldn't even get in there.
we'll have park equipment outside though, because we have to move our park
No,
equipment too.
there's not down there. Oh, you mean up at Diamond?
Yeah,
Well, it was already outside, it was just parking the wrong part of that parking lot, because it's
Also correct.
in the low area.
I mean, just keep our eye on it, and cognizant if something happens down there. I mean, we can park vehicles up here outside if we have to.
Yeah, I can leave the board over here too. If the board would think that's better, I could bring them here.
Sheriff Meyer.
This is more, I'm sorry to interrupt, this is more on the public information officer, and one of the things you might want to consider is we're anticipating more rain, and these creeks are rising. We know that our children are very inquisitive in the parks, and they're gonna go to those areas, so we need to be very vigilant of keeping people away from these areas that there's fast running water to avoid a tragedy. So just something to consider, and maybe put out as information to the residents.
Thank you. Get something out.
That, you said that is 100% correct. We had that problem the other night on Chaucer Loop.
That's the first thing I said.
There was kids,
Riding
there was
around
3 or 4
bikes.
feet of water on the roadway.
yeah. I think it's time that we
Parents were letting them.
absolutely
stand right
close
there.
Alpine Park.
I would be a fan of that. I've asked a couple of times, I know we were kind of waiting to see, but I would be a fan of closing down the Alpine, but Diamond, because of the rush of water that we had in Diamond this morning came up so quick that it didn't matter anyway.
Is there,
Do we need to create an additional resolution for something like that?
I don't think, no, we don't
We
need
just-
to
it's
create a
under-
resolution. We can go ahead and shut the gates at Alpine, place a sign. We've informed now the sheriff's office. Do you think Diamond also needs closed at this time? Or
Well, I do know the east parking lot is 3/4 underwater.
then
That's
it's
a
also time
small
to close
pump That's
Diamond?
pumping that
The
out.
west was so
Yes.
strong with the current this morning,
West
it pushed
is-
recycling bins forward.
Then it's time to close both parks,
I'm fine with that.
especially with more rain.
Rob, how about, is the small park, dog park, is that pond overflowed yet?
No, the retention pond's held fine, and what'll happen when it overflows, it'll go
South.
southeast over the path into the swell down there, so I don't think it'll ever get back toward our park. The problem we have is that loop on the back half of Schneider is flooded in 2 different spots in the southwest corner of the Stark
You happen to
Valley.
call Stark Park?
I called all 3 numbers that I had to let them know that we're,
If they think they should close that,
yeah.
they should close that.
As far as, do we note these parks closed until further notice?
Yes.
If there's
water reprising?
Yes, we'll put it on our website, Facebook, do press releases, and then Sheriff Meyer will just communicate.
Right, and we'll put that on our Facebook as well.
Okay.
So people that follow that will see, like, when you put that out, there's some boilerplate language that you can use about staying away from fast running water. I would encourage you to try to use some of that language. You can probably Google it and get what they normally use. Because it's just, natural. Our children are inquisitive and they're gonna go to those areas.
Yeah.
We gotta get that out.
Lisa, how soon will we get all this stuff
About
out?
kids staying away from the ditch
Uh,
too.
As soon as the date's done, I will work on it.
We gotta get something out.
We have to be aware, any rain that we do get from here till, it's gonna cause flooding, because the ground's not gonna take it. The streams are still so full, it's unbelievable. Flood warning in effect until 6:45 tomorrow morning as of right now.
6:45?
Yeah.
They said, it just said on the radio, I don't know if they said it was ending at 2:45.
I just got it,
You got a new one?
15 minutes ago, it said 6:45 tomorrow morning.
This is a revival, because mine just says till late afternoon.
Yeah, I just,
That's in
Thursday.
That's Arrows.
anticipation of your overnight rain.
Yeah, that's probably what the reason is. Plus, there's a lot of water sitting up north of here in Lake Township that I just drove by that's coming our way.
I was gonna say, right up by Debo corporate headquarters there off of Mount Pleasant, that bold area, it's always been dry. That's pretty,
Mount Pleasant, market at Mount Pleasant around the storage building, that's, road's closed right now because that's all overflowed. And west of there, there's everything on the north side is underwater, you can't even recognize the ground right now.
any concerns with any bridges and so forth? I know we've
That
just
was
did
a
on
brand
down
new
here.
bridge they put there that's over. This bridge down here, county was out there this morning because it was eroding on both sides of it, and they put stone in there, and they're thinking it's fine for right now.
How about Warner?
Warner Church, Scott Basinger from the county's keeping an eye on that, so far so good.
All quarter day.
Where else?
Quarter day.
Noble Avenue, I hear, south of Portage is closed right now. Shufel was closed earlier, I don't know if it still is. The Zimmer ditch has overflown this morning, its banks. So,
Yeah, 'cause I just-
I didn't get a chance to get down to Orchardale yet, I don't know what happened there, but we do know, we do know the one on Sawway's underwater.
Joellen Skelly over at 4921 Orchardale's underwater, she just called.
Okay,
That's the one that lost her home 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Her house is underwater again?
Yep.
My gosh.
Sheriff, will you also explain to the board what you did to me, explained earlier about even requesting equipment, sandbags, those kind of
Yeah,
things?
you should have all received this little pamphlet that's put out by the EMA office in Stark County. There's some great things in there, if you have time to look through it, about the do's, kind of the do's and don'ts, things you can expect. But it's really important to keep track of all your time that you're spending on an event like this, so that if there is a declaration where we can go after some state or federal assistance, we're able then to put that together in a package and send it down to get some reimbursement for the time that you're spending on this event. That's one thing. The other thing is, if we need assistance, local assistance or state assistance for something. I'm trying to think of an example when I was talking to Joe. Let's say we need a front end loader for something. We need to divert water for some reason, and we're gonna put sand or gravel down. We don't have that resource available to us. We can make requests for those types of things, and usually within a short period of time, they can give us an answer and respond to our needs. In this case, they would draw from the state resources locally here to assist us if they could. Now, if this becomes a larger event, spreads beyond just a couple townships here in the county, then it makes it a little more difficult to get a hold of those resources, because then everybody's asking for them.
So your recommendation is to ask for them ahead of time, or?
If you think there's something we need, we can ask for it. But, as I'm talking to Joe, right now, it seems like we're good in the township, and we just don't know what the next 24 hours brings as far as anticipating more rain.
If we would get, a road washed out, or, we haven't had that yet, who knows what we're gonna need, you know what I'm saying? You see it all the time on the news where heavy rains wash out culverts and roads and stuff.
Honestly,
We haven't
those
been to that
things,
point yet, we've been lucky when it comes to that so far.
Joe's pretty well equipped to handle a lot of that. I mean,
Right.
at this point, because we would set up detours, we wouldn't worry about fixing the road, we'd set up detours and we would assist in that regard. The probably more to be concerned about is, you just got a call from somebody who's flooded. Are they being displaced from their home? Do they have food and shelter for the night? Those are the kind of things that we need to communicate back to the EMA, because they're in constant contact. Actually, they have Red Cross in-house with them right now. They're stood up, that can help provide some of that assistance. We don't know until somebody calls us and say, hey, I don't have a place to go, I need help. And then we can reach out and get some of that assistance.
And Sheriff, I just heard that they, on the radio, that they set up a place in Louisville. Is it something that you recommend that we try to prepare for?
No, I don't think you need to do that. I think that very quickly, the Red Cross could set up a shelter for you. They'd use the high school or someplace, a high ground, and set up a place where people could come to. They did it, I think it's the high school in Louisville, it's a high school in Louisville. They're well equipped to set those up. They bring cots, food, water, all that in. So it's something I don't know that you need to be concerned with right now. But if you start to get calls with people being displaced, or if we get in a situation where we have, let's say, an apartment complex like they had in Louisville, that you need to evacuate people, you're going to run into that problem because there's going to be somebody that doesn't have any place to go. So just something to think about. If we need to do that, the USC Emergency Operations Center over at the basement of our office is already up and running. They have people there that we give a call, and I think they're open all night tonight, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
They have SARTA. They have SARTA, so if we need to move people, that's something to consider. And they'll help us arrange that. All we need to do is call them or send them an email. Hey, look, we have 50 people in an apartment complex. We need to move them out. Now, I've already been on scenes where there's a fire at a complex, where we put them in the SARTA bus just to keep them comfortable until we take care of what's going on there, or we move them to some shelter. So just some things to think about for this group, and as those things, if they present themselves to us, not to panic, we certainly have resources to make it happen.
Okay.
Chuck, anything just from fire EMS aspect we need to speak to, or?
Yeah, I agree on the water safety thing. I think it's a great idea because we had all kinds of kids the other night and even this morning, you know, summer's here, so, and if they have a situation in their house, we'll go to check, eliminate the hazards we can, and then they go from there. We might not be able to, get the water out of everybody's basement, but at least make sure electric's off, gas is off, that kind of stuff.
Rob, you had that issue at the park today, didn't you, with kids in the water?
Yeah, we had to ask kids to stay away from that area where there's about 16 inches deep around that light post in the east lot. We sent them home.
All the more reason to close them.
Yeah.
Yep. Would you recommend the closing of Schneider just because of the retention pond and how it would fill, or?
Probably not, because that pond's been there anyways.
No, unless kids just go play in the pond.
The pond's been there the whole time.
So I don't think they're
Yeah, the
really-
playground is up the hill, so I think we're,
We'll close that one.
yeah.
Unless that would, the pond would now drip over to the dog park or through out there, then you have to rain out now. That's just my opinion.
What's that?
Schneider.
Schneider.
Because the retention pond's already been in existence
Yeah,
there.
that's
It's not
already
like,
been
it's
there the
not like
whole
that
time.
hasn't been a
Yeah, but
problem.
what's the outlet like? Is there an outlet from that pond?
Yeah, it's shrunk down to like a 4-inch pipe, but it's not gonna be a problem.
Nothing
The only
gonna
problem
be
could be, like
stopped.
Rob said, is the Stark Parks Trail.
On the southwest,
Southwest end is
flooded in two different
flooded
areas.
in 2 different
And
areas.
the culvert that's pumped under the.
They might have to close that, but that will be Stark Parks needs to close that. We haven't closed, they've closed it before.
I called Todd Schaefer and Todd Clark today already to tell them about it.
They've closed it before, so.
How's the walking track at Alpine?
Clear so far. That creek rises, that'll be another story.
How about Diamond's, that back corner get underwater?
Yes. Yes.
Apple Grove is really flooded this morning, our Panther.
It was like a mini Niagara Falls.
It's kind of like 39th Street was the other night.
And Joe's right, Alpine's running, like the water in the creek is flowing. It would carry most adults away.
I told you, I seen 2 20-foot trees going down past Easton this house.
I was gonna say, I know over by the bridge off of Warner Church
I know they're gonna get caught somewhere now.
Bridge, there was already an obstruction I saw on my way home this afternoon.
There.
Building up, yeah.
I do know the county engineer is in the area, bridge engineer, hydraulic engineer, and they've been working in this area.
Denny, anything just from your office in closing it, otherwise?
We're just doing everything we can to help. We've been answering pretty much phone calls for flooding all day long.
And Denny, I want to thank you for the stuff you've done with RPC and
Any
the
areas
county.
particularly hit harder than others, or is it spread out?
Today was north end, down the Laurel Ridge area, Apple Grove area, and then when Mount Pleasant overflowed at St. James Bob ain't got it, and Chuck had, I don't know how many basements you had to go pump up there,
We had 8 out there.
in the Moeller, Beach One area, so,
Last night's rain was up a little bit north of us, too.
yeah.
You know, we're just doing what we can to help them out. Push us back a little bit, some of our work.
And that's what we discussed just outside of here, you know. Obviously, it's all hands on deck for everybody within the township, no matter your title or role, to alleviate and address these needs first and foremost. So if that does delay other functions, you know, typically involved with, just keep us apprised of that. I know Stephanie's already said, even from just processing a nuisance abatements, if we need to.
Well, we have to put all that stuff aside for now.
Well,
Yeah, or just process a fraction of them and then come in for a special meeting to process it. Just keep
Somebody's
it
home, somebody's home and the flood's a little more important than grass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Well, I have everybody's phone number, if you get a phone call from me at home today, you know we got a problem.
We have yours too.
all right, well,
Just swing by,
So is everybody
swing
else.
by and hit me on the way.
if there's no further immediate action, appreciate everybody's quick response here, along with Sheriff's Office here. So I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 2:24.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.